All right, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to the weekend, Saturday, about 10:57 a.m. California time, November 16th, 2024 is the date. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 1.7 there to the Southern California area. New Madrid seismic zone, seeing a little bit of earthquake activity overnight. We'll take a look at that here and the rest of the movement in just a few minutes. I want to chat about earthquake activity so far this year. This shows the earthquake activity above the 6.0 magnitude level since the beginning of 2024. We're looking at 88 earthquakes so far this year of 6.0 and above. Well, how does that compare to last year? Same time period, January 2023 to November 16, 2023. Same time period, here we go. A lot more. 127 earthquakes to be exact of 6.0 and above. And of course, some of those may have to do with aftershock sequences there around the Turkey area where we had those large earthquakes take place there beginning of last year, the 7.8 and 7.5. Numerous sixes in there as well. But looking at the multitude counts here, a lot less earthquake activity this year compared to this time last year. But that again, it could easily catch up here. But I figured I would share that with the viewers out here in comparison. Far as the largest magnitude this year so far, well, that's last year here. That's going to be that 7.8 out in the Turkey area where I just showed you guys. They had a couple sevens out there. No 8-pointer there yet from last year. Here's this year's magnitude count. Largest earthquake so far. They actually include this one here as in today's time, or the 2024 calendar, even though technically it struck December 31st, 2023, but this is my time here in California, so that is included in the January 1st time period. That was about the time we've seen that solar flare as well. Pretty interesting. But yeah, 7.5, the largest there in Japan. Nothing any larger than that, but I have a feeling there that the 8-pointer is in the forecast. And I say that because we get these 8-pointers, should be about every year, if not every year, every other year. And the last 8-pointer was back in 2021. And here we are almost in 2025. So a little bit of time has passed here. We should be seeing a large earthquake out here somewhere around the globe. It doesn't last. It doesn't stay quiet for long in terms of that large scale potential. All right, taking a look here at the last 24 hours of earthquake activity. Southern California lighting up slightly out here, as we've seen on the globe just a few minutes ago. One more earthquake overnight above the 2.5 level. That's going to be this area up here outside of Clear Lake. This is the Clear Lake volcanic field. This is not, related to any volcanic activity, but more related to human activity. And there's quite a few hydrothermal plants out here around where these earthquakes strike. There's numerous plants out here. I'm sure they've even built a couple more since the satellite imagery was taken. But if we zoom in, you can see one of these hydrothermal plants out there. They got a whole process involved in producing energy, utilizing the heated areas below to power some homes out there around the Bay Area in a green idea. Not going to go into that right now, but check it out. Actually fairly interesting. I think you have to do calpine hydrothermal plants there around Clear Lake volcanic field, Cobb Mountain area. So this is all normal there, nothing of abnormal activity. And aside from that, this movement here from yesterday, the 2 and the 3.8 around Round Valley. So things are much quieter today in terms of anything above 2.5. Malibu area, a couple earthquakes there from yesterday. Nothing new to report there today. Mostly smaller microquakes up and down the board there, as you can see on the map. Through the Intermountain West area, it's awfully quiet. Goodness. Of course, it is a weekend, right? And most of the time, they meaning the USGS, out of the office, will not report anything below the 2.5 threshold out here. It is the weekend, and these little small earthquakes that may pop up from time to time out here in the Pacific Northwest and Intermountain West areas may not show up until Monday when they get into office and look at the earthquakes that struck over the weekend. So don't expect much for microquake activity out here on the map. Nothing showing up really across Yellowstone National Park. Let's give a quick gander here across the Yellowstone overview. There is actually a couple smaller spikes there around the Madison River area right here. These are, I don't know if this is geyser activity or some type of outside interference, but these are earthquakes. A couple, two of those spikes right there. And over here around Purple Mountain as well, some very small microquake activity, but that, again, that's not going to really show up until probably Monday morning. I don't believe that's going to be the 0.8 way over there from yesterday. This is something that popped up there overnight around the Yellowstone area, but very small microquake activity. Nothing major going on there for now. Oklahoma, still seeing some movement out in the oil fields there. New Madrid seismic zone has been rocking and rolling here a little bit, and a little bit more active than normal. Last 7 days of activity here shows about 8 earthquakes overnight, a handful more, including a 3.2 near the Missouri area. Now this area right there in the darker, kind of a, I don't know, dark mustard color, I guess. That's the only thing I can really think of, is the New Madrid seismic zone that is responsible for producing very large damaging earthquakes. In fact, the last series of large 7.0 earthquakes struck back in 1811 and 1812. I'm sure the majority of us remember that from history, back in any type of grade school there, learning about the New Madrid seismic zone. Over 200 years has passed since the last large series of earthquakes there. Hard to say if, we're going to see more soon. But obviously, it's been showing some elevated seismic activity out here recently. And in the last month, we even had a 3.7 mixed in here across the area of the New Madrid zone. So these earthquakes here, obviously a sign of strain, stress building up out here in the, these are intraplate faults here away from the plate boundary. So it does take a little bit of time to build up strain out here compared to being on the plate boundary where it may not take as long. But 200 and, I don't want to do the math, but over 200 years of accumulated strain has been building up out here since the last series of large earthquakes here. And I don't recall the slip rate out here in terms of how much energy is accumulated over a certain amount of time. But, it's building. And earthquake activity is increasing out here recently. To see a 7.5 or a 7.6 out here today, after we built everything up, our road network, our infrastructure, population density galore out here across this area now, compared to back in early 1800s, that would be very damaging because these 7-pointers can ring the bell literally across the East Coast. In fact, I think it did there back in the early 1800s. So imagine the damage that could take place out here following some large events. And it's not a fairy tale. It's not fear-mongering. It's legit, verifiable, historical events that took place out here in the early 1800s. And it will happen again. The question is when. We've all become complacent living our lives of the fast pace, so to speak, out here. Making money, right? Got to make that money. Really, there's no place out here on this planet that's safe from natural hazards and disasters. It can happen anywhere, whether it's tornado activity, earthquakes out here. You just got to be prepared. You got to make sure you have a plan. That way you don't become a statistic there when events do happen, right? Got to be smart about it. Got to make sure you have an earthquake plan. And again, no magic crystal fairy ball to decide on when we're going to see a big one out here. All I know is we're seeing a little bit more elevated seismic activity out here than normal in the past month or so. All right, off of that, one earthquake here underneath Colombia, right? That could have something to do here with the Colombian Trench, a little mountain range built up here due to that subduction zone. I shouldn't say little range, that's a huge range that runs along the Peru-Chile Trench southward as well. 4.4 coming in at 93 miles into the area underneath the region, subduction zone. Older activity from last night there in the Atlantic. We got something stirring up out here in Iceland, so I want to go double check that and see what we got here. It's been a little while since I've checked the Iceland activity here, but let's go see what's going on here. Looks like it's around a volcano area over here. It looks like what's the name of this volcano? Let's see if I can get that to stir up here. The hand is way too big here on my site, on my computer here. So it's that Bartabunga region. That looks like it's a distance from it to the east here. Seeing a little bit of activity, including a 3-pointer there, scattered out and about across that area. I don't think it's anything major. It is a rift boundary out there, obviously, so it's normal to see earthquake activity. But there is, definitely something stirring up out there in the last 6 hours or so. The Grindavik area down here, where we've seen our last few eruptions here over the past year, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on there. So let me check the... it's just been a little while since I've checked the inflation charts out here across Iceland. Deformation data right here on the bottom. This is vertical displacement, obviously still going up. When the next eruption comes will be a great question, right? Obviously, the accumulated magma is reaching a potential breaking point down there underneath this area. Let me see where my recent Iceland news map is. This was put out a few days ago. They're thinking that it's unlikely that it will erupt this month, November, even though we're still seeing the land rise and magma accumulation underneath the Svartsengi area. But we'll see, I guess. I mean, no one can say exactly with certainty. All I know is we're accumulating quite a bit of magma underneath the region. And we're at a level here that's probably, close to our previous eruptions here before. See, this is the inflation charts here before an eruption happened. Our last one back in, about the beginning of September is when it halted of this year. Now we've been going back up. We haven't reached the previous level here. Notice that green area up above the negative 30 or so, but we're higher than all these other regions back here last year and earlier this year. So like I said, it could happen at any time, but we would know obviously with a lot of earthquake activity beforehand. Right now there's just not a whole lot of that going on. Some movement across the Puerto Rico area, also over here across the St. John's region here with a couple 4s from yesterday and today. Nothing big happened in there for now. The Kamchatka Trench over here in Japan definitely showing some uptick here this morning, all the way from the northern end down to the Japan Trench. That's going to be this area back over here. A pair of earthquakes, 5.0 and a 5.1, making for some adjustment here. I think, I've been saying this for a little while too, I think our next 8-pointer is going to be out here, or 8.0 or bigger, is going to be out here across the Kamchatka Trench. This area has been primed and ready for some mega quake activity out here for quite a while. I think earlier this year, I don't know, did we have a 7 out here or 6? I don't remember. Let's see here. Let's go 6.5. I just want to go back here a little bit. And we'll just go for the world, because all I really want to check out is the Kamchatka Trench up here. Okay, so 6.5, pretty deep. Look how deep that earthquake is back in August. 402 kilometers deep. Goodness. And then a few days later, a 7-pointer up here at the northern end. But this is very minimal. A 7-pointer is the very small magnitude. This is very capable of producing a mega quake out here. That big old 2011 9-pointer was down here across the Japan Trench. So this one easily could produce a 9-pointer. Fairly lengthy subduction zone here. But I have a feeling this is where our next mega quake is going to happen, because there's not a whole lot of large earthquake activity that's happened here. And we've seen a large amount of deep activity out here recently across the subduction zone, which adds further strain and stress across the area of that subduction zone. So, I mean, it's coming, obviously, right? 8-pointers can't hold off for long. All I know is that this region here definitely is overdue. And we could probably say the same for New Zealand down here as well. They've had a lot of deep activity recently and minimal adjustment across this plate boundary. A lot of movement up north and a lot of movement here south along this plate boundary. If we were to go back a little bit, that doesn't go back enough, but I've seen a lot of movement down here across this plate boundary with very minimal adjustment accordingly across New Zealand. And it should adjust. It's just been a little while since they've seen any larger scale adjustment. So we'll see what happens, I suppose, here. Hawaii, really nothing major going on there for now. Mostly deeper activity underneath the Pahala area. A couple smaller earthquakes here across the upper and middle east rift zone. Really nothing major going on here for now. Alaska, typical movement out there across the Cook Inlet area northward. 2.5 map and above pretty much removes all the earthquakes out there, except for a couple from yesterday and today, or one after 1 o'clock in the morning. Aside from that, I guess we'll see how today plays out. It is a little quiet. A lot of uptick going on here across the Middle America Trench in the 4 range. That's obviously fairly notable. North American Plate here looks fairly strained with that inland activity on the new Madrid zone. Amplification should stir up here across the Caribbean Plate. And I think we're seeing that a little bit already around the St. John's region. Strain producing earthquakes here along the Middle America Trench. We got the Colombian Trench here showing some deeper activity. Movement on the eastern areas of the Caribbean Plate. So watch this here today. I think we'll see some further movement across the Caribbean Plate. A little bitty area, a little bitty plate that gets squeezed around and bullied around and pushed around from all these larger plates here. Caribbean Plate right here where it's pointing down across the Cuba, Puerto Rico area, St. John's region. So that's always underneath the strain, and it looks like it's strained more in the last 24 hours here. All right, what else we got? Space weather activity. Let's check this out here real quick. Fairly quiet, as expected. The flare threat continues to drop as the sunspots here continue to dwindle away. The sunspot here will be out of sight, out of mind here in a couple of days. Well, in a day or so, be scooting off in the western limb. That's already pretty much done for. There's not a whole lot of development or further complexity there with that sunspot. And we're going to be left with a whole lot of open space out here on the sun as far as any sunspot activity. This one here, really not concerned about. That's continuing to decay. And if we look here, make sure I got the most recent data, which I think we do. If we look at the far side of the sun here, this is put out from yesterday, so it's about a day behind. There's not a whole lot of large developing sunspots. In fact, this sunspot group right here has diminished in the last couple days. We've seen it on this image right here. Here's that sunspot group. Notice as the days progress, they start to, that deep dark black color there that indicate large coverage of sunspot areas there on the far side is filling in, meaning that the sunspot area is decaying and dying out there. So I'm really not expecting much from that sunspot group once it ventures around here, the eastern limb. And this is a day behind, so we may see this sunspot group start to appear on the eastern end of the eastern limb of the sun here within the next 24 hours. But I'm not expecting much here, folks, in terms of elevated solar flare activity. I think maybe that might be somewhat of the magnetic structure out there from that group of sunspots, but it doesn't look like much. There's a little bright feature out there, but we won't know complexity for sure until it comes back around into the visible disk of the sun. Not a whole lot in the aurora department. As you can see, things are fairly quiet across the board there, folks. Severe weather, nothing major going on today, just some thunderstorm activity out here across the areas around the Great Lakes. Severe weather returns for Sunday out there across Texas. A wide area of potential tornado activity, 2 and 5% zone there across Wichita Falls, Abilene area. Got some wind and a little bit of hail threats out there as well for the day tomorrow on Sunday. Now, if we look at day 3, this is going to be Monday. Slight risk shifts a little bit further to the east. A large marginal risk as well, it looks like. We'll have to check out on the potential here as we get a little bit closer to that time period. But a little bit of severe weather shaping up there over the next couple days in this area of the country. Put the GFS model into motion here. A lot of moisture coming up into this region. These guys have been completely wiped out of the drought. They were in some drought conditions here, but now after numerous severe weather events and a lot of rainfall, it's dropped. So these guys are okay with rainfall for now, but they're going to get a whole bunch more, it looks like. And that's going to shift further to the east and southeast here over the next couple days, early next week. Colder air coming into the Pacific Northwest. And I'm hoping here that we get some of that rain across California. Most of it looks like it wants to stay up in the Pacific Northwest, Oregon and Washington. But I'm hoping that this will dip down a little bit further to the south. We need the rainfall. It's so dry out here. And November is, we should see some decent rainfall. This is our rainy season. And so far I picked up a measly 1/4 of an inch of rain. I still have huge drought cracks in my field. Seismographs there, pretty quiet. Little spike of an earthquake on China Lake, Southern California, but nothing big going on there for now. One little earthquake outside of the Ontario region. This is the is this the Fontana Swarm area? Let me see if this is it. Yeah, this is within that region, it looks like. Over the last couple months, we've seen a number of different swarms out here across Southern California. It's been kind of quiet. Things have backed off a little bit, but it's been that way. We've getting these little patterns and waves of elevated seismic activity, followed up by days of quietness or, average small microquake activity. So I don't think we're out of the woods here. Obviously these little quakes can't relieve any of the strain that's been building up here for 300 and something years across the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. So I see elevated swarming and whatnot as a sign of, be ready. But really not seeing anything major going on out here today. All right, I'm out of here, folks. We'll catch you guys back out here for the Saturday night update. Voice is starting to get a little bit better. Not quite 100%, but we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. So I'll continue to stock up here on my vitamin C and teas, and hopefully things will go back to normal here on my voice, because it's not good. You guys enjoy your Saturday. We'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening. Stay safe.